Hello, this is Angela from Whatweft with a mixed media tag demonstration using a recycled packaging base. I'm starting with a piece of packaging. So this was a box of fettuccine, which I took apart, and I've cut myself a couple of cards here, and they are 3.5 inches by 5.5 inches or 9 centimeters by 14 centimeters. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is scuff the back of these up with some sanding paper. The backs of your work will get a little bit messy, so you'll need to treat the backs of them at some stage, and it's easy if you're going to stick something over the back of them and the paper is, or the cardboard is shiny on this side, you're going to have trouble sticking it. If you want to put gesso on the back, it won't stick either unless you rough up the surface. So I'm just going to rough up the surfaces just a little bit. And the first thing that I need to do with that is to put some gesso on it. Now, if you're lucky enough that the inside of your box is white, you probably only need to put one layer of gesso on. Mine's not white, mine's this strange mottled brown. So I'm just going to put one layer on and let it dry, and then if I'm not happy with it, I can always put a second or even a third coat of gesso on it. Okay, you might notice I haven't trimmed the corners on my tags yet. The reason that I haven't trimmed the corners on my tags yet is because sometimes you get a little print in the corner where you've been holding it, or it's not quite gone to the edge, and then you can pick which edge you want to cut the edges off of. So I'm just going to leave that to dry and go and wash my brush, and I'll be back. As you can see on this one, the corners these corners don't look as good as these corners, so these are the ones that I'm going to cut off. So if I find my scissors, the rusty trusty scissors, I'm just going to cut the first corner off, pick it up, turn it over, and use that as a guide for the other side. Okay, that's one. I might just use this as a guide for the second one. Don't like those corners up there as much, so I will cut these corners off here. Okay, get rid of those. Now I'm ready to stencil. So I'm going to use my favorite Cobblestone stencil here, and this is the one that I said I got from a local supplier, and I'll put they are available on eBay, and I'll put the link down below. They're available in a number of different sizes, so you can just pick the ones that you want. I've got the smallest size here. Okay, using the palette knife and some modeling paste, I'm just going to spread this on. I'm not going to spread it all over, just on part of it. If you've got the stencil hanging over like I have, you don't have worries about going too far and the overhang of this showing up on your work. Let's go right across there, I think, and up a little bit. Just finish these two little ones off. one. And as I said before, wash your stencils and your palette knife as soon as you finish the stenciling part. I wash mine in a bucket of warm water, and then don't tip the water down the drain, because there's the chance that you could block your drain. I just pour mine out onto the garden. I'm going to use another stencil now. And this one is one that I've had for a while, so I'm just going to use part of it on this side. But you could use any Flourish kind of stencil. It's a bit more difficult not to get overhang on this. Doing it this way. I do have a Tim Holtz one that has the flourishes on. That I've only bought recently, so it is available. And there we go, that's on that side. And I think I'll put a bit down this side as well. Whoops. All right, that's going to be a fingernail job. You know what? It's not going to be a fingernail job. I'm just going to smooch that down the side. Oh no. Not too badly damaged. It'll do. It's just a bit smudged there. The rest of it looks all right. Okay, let me go back in with this knife and get rid of that hard line. So you can see it a bit better, sorry. Let's rough that up a bit. Okay. So now my tags have dried, and this time I'm not going to put ink over it using an ink pad and water. I'm going to run the ink straight over these and see what happens. And that's where I ran into a bit of trouble. So I just put my paper down. I don't have any red ink or pink ink, and I want these for something that's, so we're going to try the red wine. So use a dropper, fill it with red wine, and see what happens when I cascade it down my, not very much. Let's spray it with a bit of water. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so that is nice and wet. Move it around a bit. Okay, let's put some more on. Maybe if I just don't want too much water on it, or else it's not going to take up the colour. Swirl it around a little bit. a little bit of greening down in the bottom corner and see what happens. To this one now. See what effect I get with that. Oops. Oh, I like that colour. Just going to leave it to take a bit longer in this part. Okay, a bit more red wine. Pour it onto this side. Okay, I've left a fair bit of the wine on those. I'm just going to leave them to dry with the wine on it because it's not come out terribly strong colour. I'll just leave it to stain. Stains clothes well enough. Okay. My tags have now dried. It's not terribly clear on film, but in real life, if I lift them up, maybe you can see the colour a little bit better. This one has come out a beautiful pinky mauve colour. In this one, the colour is lighter up in this part, but down here, it's a little bit darker, and I like the way the green has come out there. So this one I will decorate because there's a blank space there. This one I'm so happy with. I think I'm just going to leave it as it is, and I'll just put a ribbon onto it. So I'm going to mount them both onto some lilac copy paper. This is 120 GSM tinted paper. I'm using a little bit heavier than normal copy paper because the back has got a fair bit of printing still on it that I want to cover up. So I'm just going to mount these onto the paper and then I'll cut them out. And now I've lost my glue. Here it is. So I'm just going to apply some glue when it comes out of the bottle. Here we go. Some glue around the very edges just a small amount. There we are, it's coming out a bit better now. All around the edge. Just go back over that bit. And just a squiggle, if I can get it to squiggle. In the middle. I think I'd like an edge around mine, so I'm going to leave. Actually, no, I won't, because, well, too late. This isn't thick enough. This isn't cardboard, so I'm going to have to cut it flush. Do the same to the other one. Just lay it on and move it a little so the glue goes right to the edge. And I'll just leave those for a moment. So now that the glue has dried, I'm just going to cut these out roughly. And then trim around the edge. So we have nice clean backs with no show through on them. Okay, now they're trimmed, I'm going to ink around the edge. So I'm going to use ground espresso. It's a Ranger distress ink. Just give these a quick ink around the edge. I don't want it to go too far in, so I want it to blend, not overpower my tag. Just give it a little bit of definition. Put the ink away. Okay, like I said, this one is just going to have a ribbon on it. A hole in the top, and the same on this side. Okay. Put that one aside for the time being, and we'll work on this one. Now I'm going to use hot glue for this because I'm going to use these 3 mulberry roses, and I want to use paper string. This is a burgundy paper string that I've cut into short lengths and bent into half. I'm going to use 2 rose leaves, and I'm going to make 2 more of these and use these. Now these are difficult to stick unless you're using hot glue, which is the reason why I'm using the hot glue gun. So just use a small paintbrush, wrap the wire tightly around the paintbrush, and pull it off and just stretch it out a little bit. So the wire I'm using Stretch the end out a little bit more. The wire I'm using was on the back of these and on the end of these. So I cut it off because I want them to sit nicely. And I'm using what I cut off as my little tendrils. So with my glue gun, I'm going to start with a little piece of cream coloured bridal tulle underneath. A little bit of glue there, glue that down. Okay, I'm going to do the tendrils next. Followed by the leaves. And I'll join these three together. Whoops, those coming down here. And then I will glue the flowers on. Push this one up into there. Okay. Put my glue gun away. So I'm going to use this piece of coffee dyed vintage seam binding. This seam binding is around about 80 years old. 50 years old. It was white and I've dyed it with coffee. So I'm just going to cut a piece of that. Got way too much there. Thread it through. Pull my ends through. And tighten the knot. The reason I like using this is it stays where it's put a lot better than satin or silk ribbon. Okay, that's that one. I'll do the same to the other. In fact, what I think I might do with the other, because the hole is closed over a little bit, is I think I should just only put it through one side. Need something to push it through with. There we go. Okay. pull it through. I'm not going to do a bow, I think that will overdo it. I'll just tie it. Tighten that, open it out a little, and trim it to the length that I want. And there are my two tags. This one will easily slide into a pocket. This one, a little bit more difficulty with that because of the decoration on it, but it will go into an angled cut pocket quite nicely. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos from me, please click the subscribe link below.